See it, say it, believe it, yeah. See it, say it, believe it, yeah. See it, say it, believe it, yeah. See it, say it, believe it, yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristan and Michael, and you are listening to Fused, transparent conversations from marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss perspectives that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and your family to check us out. Connect with us on social media and join the conversation by emailing us at info@fusedmarriages.com. All right, Michael, so what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about why relationships suck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's where we at.
Okay. Let's
Right.
get into it.
Right. So there's oftentimes bad relationships and people don't understand what's going on with them, but there's probably some key things that make them bad relationships or make them suck.
Okay.
The first one, I think, you know what? It's communication, bad communication.
Yeah.
Now, first part about communication is that I've heard or read that guys only speak 3 times less than women.
I've heard that.
So if you all are talking 100 miles an hour and we give just a little bit of feedback, y'all may think that's, you know what, that's bad communication for y'all.
Okay, fair enough.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you give me, you know what, hey, you give me this long story about your day. Hey, my day is this, that, and the other. You know, my girlfriend did this. My mama called me about that. My sister did this. You know what, and I ate this for lunch and this, that, and the other. And you asked me about my day. I may say, you know, it was cool. Right?
Yeah, that's really frustrating because that does happen.
That's real life. That happens.
It is. But then that makes us think, and this is, you know, these are broad generalizations. Sometimes these roles can be flipped.
No, this is us.
This is our life.
It's us. It's broad, but it's us too, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that the challenge with that is it can make one partner feel like the other is not really engaged or invested. And so what I hear you saying is that's just the style of communication.
Could be a style, right? You got to figure out how to work around it. It's bad communication because it's
both
not
people.
For both people.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a man not talking as much as you need, and you may be talking. Well, I won't go there, but basically, you know what I mean.
Okay.
It just got to be a balance.
All right. Yeah.
Got to be a balance.
Yeah, true. And I think there's different elements to communication. And one of the ones that we talk about a lot is timing, tone, and delivery.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Tell the truth.
We've dealt with that in our marriage, and y'all let us know if y'all have dealt with that too. Timing, tone, and delivery. I've heard that phrase over and over and over and over again because I don't have the best judgment or history with timing, tone, and delivery. So my family story, and I think this is important for you to know about your partner, is what do they come from? So my family, we're really direct communicators. We say what we need to say. We might use a lot of words to say it. We might not, but it's always very pointed. And it gets more pointed if we're upset. So we may or may not be yellers, but we are very pointed communicators. Whereas in Michael's family, they're very passive communicators, very suggestive. So instead of saying somebody's doing something wrong, they will say, well, I just don't know. I just don't know about that. I wouldn't do it that way, as opposed to saying that's a dumb decision, which might be the way my family says it.
True
Michael's
enough.
family would not.
True.
So when we got together, he would say my tone was really aggressive when I just really thought I was getting to the point.
It was mean, y'all.
It was not mean. It was
It felt mean.
okay. That's okay. Feelings are valid.
It felt mean.
Yeah. So I'm just a more aggressive communicator. But Michael, if he feels that I'm being too aggressive, he just shuts down. And I wonder if there are any fellas out there like that or ladies out there like that. Your partner talks to you and you feel like, oh, they coming at me. And you just decide, you know, I'm not going to do that. How do you deal with aggressive communicators or passive communicators? So anyway, as we continue this conversation, so communication, the tone in which you communicate with your partner is really important. And knowing how your norm is, and you can kind of look around your family and say, oh, okay, we always talk loud, or okay, we talk over each other, or you know, we don't really talk a whole lot about certain things. So I think that's something. And then timing.
Yeah, timing. I mean, it's just like, you know, sometimes you can bring something to the table where, you know, your partner, you have an issue with your partner, you're having something going on, and like, you know what, they're not a morning person, but you bring them a topic in the morning that you want to get deep about, but they're not a morning person. They're more afternoon or a night person. As for myself, you know, I'm actually the opposite. I'm not a night person. If
At
you
all.
want to bring something to me that's really, really important when you talk about it, probably want to bring it to me in the morning. But if you don't understand that about your partner, that can be a serious conflict in that communication gap of really trying to understand, okay, hey, here's where my partner is at. They're not really rejecting me or rejecting what I have. They're not that type of person in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever have you. The timing has to be appropriate when you're talking about having the right communication.
And that's a growth thing too, like growing into that, because sometimes for me, there are some things I just need to talk about. Like, I need you to wake up. But some things I'm like, okay, Tristan, can you hold this till the morning? Because he's going to be more in tune in the morning. Because the worst thing ever, my husband can stand against a wall and fall asleep at 8 o'clock. And
Come on now. Why you got to tell my business like that?
That's not true. That's not true.
I ain't saying that. I said, why you got to tell my business like that?
All right. Well, that's what it is. So knowing that about your teammate, because you're in this together, you want to win. But knowing the time to have those conversations, you can't be when there's a lot of work to do. I can't have my husband. He can talk over everything. I don't even understand that, but that's how his family is. So he can have music going, the news on, the kids screaming, and he can still be like engaged. I cannot. Yeah. I need silence. I can't have any competing anything. So knowing what time to bring that. So your tone, your timing, and your delivery. How you come into the conversation is also really important. It's not just the tone of the conversation, but how do we enter it? Are we coming into a deep conversation after an argument?
Right. No, that's real. That's real. That's real.
Like how are we going to have this conversation over dinner? There are some things we don't need to have certain conversations around the kids or around our parents or around our older kids versus our younger kids. So How are you delivering this conversation? What's the platform? So yeah, I agree with you, babe, that that can make a relationship suck, bad communication.
Yeah, and just kind of to close out the communication portion of it is basically, it's our responsibility, I think, as each other, as a spouse, me loving you and you loving me, is like, I can't be being comfortable in my norm. If my norm is to have only a conversation in the morning and you got a really serious issue that's at night, I can't be so caught up in myself and my thinking like, okay, well, you know what? I ain't going to try to listen to her right now. She know I'm not a night person.
Wow.
I gotta give my spouse the right amount of love and understanding, and vice versa. She can give that to me. If it's really something that can wait, she's gonna hopefully let that hold off.
That's good.
So next topic, what do you think about what else could be another part of really having a relationship that sucks?
Ooh. What can make a relationship suck is quality time.
Well,
so some people think, and let me know if this is you, be honest, tell the truth, shame the devil, that quality time and quantity time are the same thing. And they're not, people. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
So just because I'm around you, and you have to also know your spouse or your partner or whoever you're in a relationship with, or you're trying to grow this thing, you have to know what they consider to be quality.
Well.
So we are Longhorn fans in here. I don't know how y'all feel,
Welcome.
Okay, you can shout out your teams, but we're Longhorn fans. So when Michael is watching a Longhorn game, if I'm watching a Longhorn game with him, he considers that to be quality.
Man, it ain't.
I'm just saying, different strokes.
Man,
different
Bevo
strokes.
was on. What you talking about?
Okay, So to him, if we sitting down and we watching the game, we don't really even have to talk. We probably will, because I talk through some stuff because I like sports too. And he'll talk after plays. I'll try to set him up and he'll tell me, yeah, this is what's going to happen. So we like to talk through sports, but that wouldn't necessarily be deep quality time for me. Quality time for me might literally be sitting with nothing on, no television, and just having a conversation. I like to talk about goals and dreams and plans and that kind of stuff. That's really quality to me. So y'all let us know, send us an email. What does quality time look like for you versus quantity time? And also, I might note, I want to hear what you have to say about this. For me, quality time is just us. We can have time with our friends, and that can be good quality time with friends, but that doesn't communicate to me in the same way. We can hang out with our parents, our cousins, our family, our children, and all of that might be time that I enjoy and appreciate, but I don't consider that in my love bank of what quality time is.
So it's what you're saying, if I'm hearing correctly, is one-on-one time.
One-on-one time.
You and your boo.
Yes, you and your boo. And let me say what I'm gonna say is that this is not sexual time. Okay. This is not
that don't
anticipatory
count?
time.
I gotta count a little bit.
Well,
Just a little bit. I can't understand. It may not be everything.
It's not everything.
But can it count just a little bit though? Because
Depends.
we gonna
Even that, it depends on what partner.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying.
Come on, man.
I'm just
y'all
saying.
mind is off on that. Gotta be gotta
Y'all's mind.
Y'all's mind. I ain't putting who the y'all is, but it's off. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, what my point is that quality time, it has to be time that does not have the intention of leading to something. So that is a different kind of quality time. I'm not saying that it doesn't count or that it's not quality, because it's quality. I'm just saying there are other things that matter too. Having deep, engaging conversations about how I think, what I'm thinking about, what's important to me in this season, because different seasons, things change their priority. So having those kinds of quality conversations and what's happening in that time is really important.
I think one of the things like I'm struggling with as a man and really trying to grow out of is like when you give quality time that you expect something back.
Okay,
right? I think a lot of men, I know at least myself, is like, you know what? If I give you something, I typically want something back, right? Especially if I do something I really don't really care for. It could be anything. I'm gonna go shopping with shoes. Some guys may like that. Ain't nothing wrong with like shopping with your girl for shoes. That just ain't for me. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get no like thrill out of now I can see you in the shoes. I'm cool with that. Especially if they're a certain type. You know what I mean? Okay. I like that.
Okay.
But to go to the whole process of shopping with with your girl and kind of like look into that, I mean.
So what do you expect back? So give me an example. Okay, so we're shopping for shoes. You go shopping for shoes with me. What is it that you're expecting back? Is it something equivalent, something different? So you want dinner? Like, what is it?
It don't have to be equivalent, but like, you know what I mean? It's like you want credit for it almost. Like, right, you know what? Okay, I went shopping for shoes with you.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you know what? The game is on. It come on at 7. I've been shopping with you, from 1:00 till 5:00. And you still like want to have a conversation though. I'm like, man, hold on. The game is on though.
Okay.
Like, the game is on. We gotta. Hey, can I get a little credit for what I did between 1 and 5?
So the game comes on. So you don't want me to talk anymore because you gave me my time.
I'm just saying.
That's my time. So then you want to switch time.
I don't want you like not to talk. You know what I mean? That ain't what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying I want a little bit of the time. You know what I mean? For my own quality time to be able to experience, the game a little bit. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
Real life. What y'all think about that? So email us info@fusedmarriages.com or hit us up on our Facebook page. Let us know your thoughts. Man. What do you think about that? Gentlemen, ladies, quality time. What does that look like for you in your relationship? Are you getting it? Or are you not getting it? Do you define it the same way? What is quality time? If you both like to shop and y'all go shopping together, does that count as your quality time? If you kind of running around errands together because you sit in the car next to each other, you can have good conversation, or does that not count because there's too many other things going on? Talk to us. Let us know your thoughts. We're going to jump into the next one for what makes a relationship suck.
Expectations.
Ooh, big word. Big word.
Hey, that right there is a mouthful, right?
It is.
Because expectations can it can mess somebody's mind up, right? If I'm thinking, because I grew up in a traditional household. Let's talk about us for a second.
Okay.
I grew up in a traditional household. And traditional meaning my mom, she cooked, she cleaned, she kind of makes sure from the kids' perspective, like everybody was taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And even she took care of her man in that way. That's what my parents had.
Mm-hmm.
So like me, when I got married, the expectation was like, hey, my wife is going to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I do. And it's going
to, she does cook. I ain't trying to, yeah, for real. She cooked, the bomb. I ain't even going to trip on that. But it was like, it was expected. Like, it wasn't like, okay, hey, we're going to team up and do this thing from the kitchen to the cooking thing. It was like, my wife was going to cook. You know what I mean? I ain't got a problem cleaning, but like, I wanted in my mind for her to, to cook a little more frequently, maybe than what I want, than what she had in mind. So that really kind of had to I take a step back, like, hey, hold on now. I mean, that was my parents' relationship, and I had the expectation that was going to be my wife's relationship with each other, with us as well. So just give me your thoughts on that, babe.
Yeah. So this is where I think that premarital counseling is really important. Having some of these conversations. We did go through premarital and it was really helpful. But I came from a background which is also traditional according to my husband's definition, but we also had some different ways of doing things. So when I got married, I told my husband before we got married, actually, I'm not cooking every day. I do like to cook, and I like to cook a lot, but I have a system, and this is my system. When I cook a lot at one time, and it's supposed to last for 2 or 3 days. And you can kind of, like, come on, y'all. Like, when you make chicken, you can transform chicken into like 10 different meals. So I make several different pieces of chicken breast, and one day it might be chicken and green beans and cornbread and potatoes, and then the next day it might be fajitas, and the next day. So I'm not doing a whole lot every day because I have other things on my plate to do. My husband's expectation was really breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that's what he came from. So when we're having this conversation about expectations, something that small can be something really big. The other part of that is that in my mind, I cook, you clean. Like, you can load the dishwasher, and then when I clean, don't mess anything up. I don't care if we're both grown.
Man, that was a big problem for us, for real.
It was, and it wasn't.
It was about a fork being left, y'all, in the sink.
It was not a fork. It was a cup.
It was okay. It was a cup. See, I forgot, but she remembered.
I remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So look, y'all, this is real. When I clean, I am very particular about how things are clean and that they stay that way. And my husband is what I consider as tidy. He does not make a big mess, but he thinks things that are, to me, more important. He thinks of them as small. So if I clean up the whole kitchen, I clean out the sink and all of this, do not come back and put a fork, a cup, a bowl, a spoon. Do not do it. You better wash it and put it in the cabinet, put it in the dishwasher if the dishwasher hasn't been started. And for him, he would just be like, it's just a bowl. So having these conversations early, the earlier the better. So you can kind of work out how the other person thinks, and then being respectful to the other person's boundaries, what they need. But then as we kind of grew into some things, understanding that some things aren't that important.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of little things as far as expectations that we don't even like really think about.
Yeah.
I mean, from, who fills the car up with gas, who cuts the grass, who picks the kids up,
Mm-hmm.
who washes the clothes, who folds them,
Mm-hmm.
how often do we clean the house? All these things are kind of really like embedded us, how we kind of grew up, or how we want to say, we want to have our relationships be. But ultimately, like, myself and Tristan had to kind of come to some understanding. We bump heads on a lot of different things, and like, hey, hold on, what's going to work best for us? I know I have my perspective of what I thought it should be, and she had hers. But we had to, and we still are in the process of coming to a lot of understanding of expecting different things from one another.
Yeah, and it changes in each season. What do you expect when your kids are toddlers versus teenagers versus young adults? There are a lot of different things that you have to talk about, which goes back to that first point that we said, communication is just really, really important. But discussing in depth what your expectation is. And another element that we had is we're a blended family. So we had different kinds of thoughts about how is that going to affect our kids? What are we going to do? What about our marriage? What about our in-laws? So having really, really deep conversation and not letting them go, not being like, oh, it's whatever. It's not that big a deal. We'll get to it when we get to it. No. Revisit that conversation as many times as possible. Discuss those expectations. Do you eat breakfast every day? What do you like for breakfast? Who's going to be doing the grocery shopping? Are we going to combine bank accounts? There's just so many things that you have to talk about because we come into our relationships with a background of things that are to us normal, but to our partner might seem strange or unusual. So discussing even the little things, because, the old saying, the devil's in the details, those little things can rip apart your whole relationship. So discuss them.
And you just don't know. I mean, you just don't. Sometimes, you're living a life and doing things on a week in, a week out basis. And like, that's your norm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can often like, you don't even know it's expectation. You're putting expectation on your partner. And they're like, okay, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's something you got to be considerate of whenever you're dealing with somebody and trying to deal with your partner, you're trying to grow with them, of really, really just understanding, hey, I have some things in my mind and my heart of how I live on a day-to-day basis that may not match up with my partner.
Yeah. So I want to ask you guys that are listening to us, really send us an email, because I'm curious who out there had an expectation when they first got in their relationship that was unmet, an unmet expectation, something that they had to change, something they had to amend, or something you're working through right now that you think, hey, this is a hard one. We want to talk about that. We want to get into that. So shoot us an email info@fusedmarriages.com. We're curious. We want to engage and connect. We're a community. We all trying to do this thing together. All right. So let us know. Let's talk about it.
All right. And our last topic for this particular segment, relationships suck and why do they suck, is handling changes.
I'll jump into that. Okay.
Man, handling changes. So that's the one thing I realized really about life in general, particularly about relationships, especially when you're trying to do life with somebody. It's going to change from week to week, month to month, right? At one point, you and I, we were kind of like single. We didn't have any young kids. And we had like, okay, it was cool. We were trying to figure out some things and we got those dynamics kind of straight, right? Then we had our 3-year-old, our 4-year-old rather, Ari, right? And it really, at that point, she kind of threw a wrinkle in really how we communicated, the time we had, the stuff we were trying to do. Just really, it changed. And like, I think from what I'm looking back now, is like we had to figure out how to be flexible around that situation, that life event, enough to say, you know what, how are we going to make this work, stick together, grow, and still figure out one another and grow our relationship as well. Now, that's just a kid coming into this particular situation, but it could be, you know, we've been through job changes, been through moves, you know what I mean? We've been through even, unfortunately, deaths in family, you know what I mean? Situation like that happening, and like that can really traumatize the relationship outside of the actual event that's taking place. And like being able to handle those changes, right? It's like, I mean, life is going to come at you in different waves. So as soon as you figure something out, it's going to come at you in a different way. Right. And like, how fast can you adjust as a unit? Right. Together to be able to go through that. Yeah.
I think handling changes is a big thing because you can totally shift without your partner. Like you can make a change internally and without being able to really negotiate that change, that shift together, you can go opposite directions. One person can be on one path, and the other person could have made that directional change, and you know, you haven't talked about it, you don't even know, and that's when people can kind of be the divide in the road. I
got a question for you on that.
What's up?
And maybe you can provide some insight about it. Okay. Because you're talking about that divide or that shift, right? So what happens when, you know what, two people get together, and they have these visions and dreams of what they want to do with their life and how they want to do it, you know, and then ultimately they end up changing, you know, 3 or 4 years later saying, you know what, I want to do, you know, I want to be a music producer now. I was a teacher, and they literally are making this shift to say, you know what, I want to do this now. And how should that partner be like? How do you see that playing out with, you know, in a relationship or in a marriage?
That's huge. I think that is I think there's a lot of elements to that. And I think that might be something that happens more often than we discuss as people. So I really think that when one partner has made a decision to kind of pursue their dreams, there are some conversations that hopefully were had before that. So a lot of this still goes back to that number one, communication, and how critically important that is. So you would hope that in those situations that they have at least shared their heart. Hey, I might be, you know, an accountant, but I'm really passionate about, you know, art. I'm really passionate about this thing. So it shouldn't come, hopefully it doesn't come as a complete shock that this is something that this person wants to do, because the ride is together. You know, you're in this car together. So these conversations hopefully have already started. Now, if they haven't, and you're saying, man, it's something I've been holding on to, I didn't want to tell them, I was scared, I didn't know how they were going to respond, then you want to share your heart. Hey, I haven't talked to you about something that's really important to me. I want you to care. I want you to be engaged. Because I think a lot of that is that fear factor. And then where do you go from there? Hey, they want to leave their very secure job and they want to go paint, or they want to go do something that might not be as stable, quote unquote. Then how do you partner on that? And that's even communication. Okay, how can we do this? How can we make this profitable? How can we make this something that you're able to pursue? Is this something that you want to do full time? Would you mind doing it part time? Is there a timeline attached to this? Those are the kinds of things that you then need to discuss. What are we as a team willing to sacrifice for this vision to come true? And that can be anything from changing your career to going back to school. Somebody wants to go back and get their their undergraduate degree or their master's or their PhD or something, or somebody wants to pursue law school or doctorates, or pharmacy school or
Right.
whatever. There are
Right.
just so many different things that people have access to in this age of information. So I think that the challenge is having that first step of courage to really have an in-depth conversation, saying, you know what, this is something I really want to pursue. And if it's something I'm just interested in, hey, I want to try out this hobby. I used to do it, or I've always kind of been interested in. Maybe it's something you can partner together. Oh, I'd like to go with you to a ceramics class. That might be something that's fun. Or even if you don't, hey, check out what your partner is interested in. That says a lot about the relationship. And believe me, they will be encouraged that you are like investing your energy into their dream, into their goal. That could be a whole nother level of trust and depth in your partnership.
Yeah, I mean, just what you're saying, kind of like, just I'm summing up my mind, and just what you're trying to rationalize is like, I can't be so rigid that I'm only see my partner one way, and not giving them room to be able to, and space to grow, and to really where they're trying to ultimately go, right? Because like whenever you meet a person, most of us haven't arrived to who we are, who we want to be, or who God even wants us to be, right? So I got to give you, in this case, space to say, you know what, she may venture out into some things that she don't even know she want to do yet.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm hoping and would pray that my partner would do the same for me, and not keep me confined to really how they met me, right? And hopefully I'm in the process of growing and really trying to expand beyond where I'm currently at.
That's good. That's really good. I think that handling those changes, how somebody is thinking and growing and processing, is important, is critical to the relationship, because without being able to handle change and go to a deeper level in your relationship and in the trust and in the intimacy that brings, then your relationship's going to suck. It just is.
Well.
So we want to hear from you. What makes a relationship suck? If you've been in some bad relationships, and you might know from personal experience, or you've been in some great relationships, we want to know what makes your relationship so great. So make sure that you connect with us. And we just appreciate you guys for listening. So thank you for joining us today. Make sure that you connect with us on our social media platforms. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Fused Marriages. Check out our website for content and resources, fusedmarriages.com. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to Fused with Tristan and Michael.